Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm going to go ahead and show you something that you're not going to see or hear on TV because they don't want to admit it. But the Washington Examiner, the Washington Post, and even other news outlets, which are usually anti this administration, are actually reporting on it. He actually popped to 52% from 46% in just a few days. The best job approval rating on record. And he's up with blacks and even Democrats. And he's also even up with minorities, which is something that they said could never happen. Well, guess what? It's happened. It just happened. Which is something that you're probably not going to hear anywhere else. And the First Lady Melania, her speech, they said it topped the previous administration's wife's speech. Yeah, it got several more hits than hers, a lot more popularity, basically. Anyway, they said that the black people, independent voters, as well as urban dwellers, were shocked. Why should they be? But they said all of that violence raging in their cities is causing more problems. No doubt. It wound up actually making him more popular. President Trump's approval rating has hit a new high, according to a new survey heavy with minority voters. The latest Zogby poll just shared with Secrets had Trump's approval rating at 52%. The president has recorded his best job approval rating on record. What's more, his approval rating among minorities was solid. And in the case of the African Americans or black people, shockingly high. Not really when you see all of what he's done for them. And the fact, sadly, they're tearing their own communities apart, and they're even getting tired of it. Zogby said 36% of them approve of the president. Those of African descent. As do 37% of Hispanics and 35% of Asians. And a new poll powered by Zogby, has President Trump's job approval rating at 52%. You can see right there. Approval among independent voters is also up to 44%, and intriguingly, 23% of Democrats approve of Trump now. Now, I'll tell you, that's a big jump from 5% just last week. It went from 5% to 23% that approve. It was the latest to show that Trump's approval rating went up during the Democratic National Convention, and now, obviously, during the Republican Convention. And then you had people calling they called the rioting to end. And last night, Don Lemon, that's right, CNN host Don Lemon, he called for the rioting to end. Finally. But only because it's showing up in the polling. He said, stop the rioting because it's showing up in the polling. That's all they care about. Really? What polling, this person said? The media polling after the DNC convention was never released over the weekend. Yes, folks, it exists. You're just not allowed to see it. So apparently, we're just not allowed to see the true voting, the true polls. The polls confirm that the nation is nearly evenly divided. Now, they say this every election. They said it during the one with McCain, and they said it with the one with Hillary, and now they're saying it with his. Anyway, he suggested that the battle is for the 10 to 20% who haven't made their minds up. That's what he claims. They won't make their minds up to election day, just like they did with President Trump. But we are so polarized as a nation. We are as polarized on a level not seen since the Civil War, because they're creating it mostly. This one guy said, "Are you trying to get Trump reelected? Well, that's what you're going to do if you continue rioting like this." And this woman said, "Well, they're not part of us." Well, then Antifa should be stopped. If they're not part of them, then it shouldn't be allowed. I mean, then don't be out there with them. But he also said the violence playing out in the cities that we see in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and Portland, Oregon, they're pushing the urban voters to Trump. All the violence that it's turned around on them. It has turned around on them, thankfully. And they said the violence that we're seeing in these urban areas is pushing the voters pushing those urban voters toward this president. Another factor continuing to help the president's high approval rating is a rise in crime in our nation's biggest cities, which are Democratic run. Unlike a year ago, the president is performing well with voters in large cities. It's highly likely, they say, that he is benefiting from the uptick in violence. But that's the problem. All this violence has caused people to go the other way because they see how insane the other side is. His law and order message is resonating with the urban voters at the moment. The law and order message that he's giving all the black people and all the minorities and all that were minorities, not really now technically because they're on the rise, but all the people in those urban areas and even in the major cities seeing this violence, they're saying, hey, this has to stop, and they're getting tired of it. And they're even tired of their own people rioting. They're saying, teach history, learn from the past, don't destroy it. They're getting tired of the violence, and they said they are voting Trump. And he also suggested that Trump's focus on issues are important to blacks. His issues that he is presenting that are important to blacks, including the economy, jobs, criminal justice reform, that has now boosted his support among the voting group that traditionally goes all in for Democratic presidential candidates. The president is also improving his job approval numbers with the African American or black community and millennial black people, which is a trend that we witnessed last year. Trump has been making the case that he has done more for the black voters by way of prison reform and previously low black unemployment than Kamala Harris and Joe Biden ever thought about, both of whom have been accused by the president for increasing incarceration amongst them for generations on nonviolent drug charges. Basically, Trump was saying that Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and all those individuals, all those Democrats have been increasing incarcerations for nonviolent drug charges. Meanwhile, he's going to slow that down. And that's also creating an uptick in his vote. Let's move through the clickbait, see if there's anything else. But yeah, his approval rating is up by far. Just thought I'd share this, and I felt like it needed to be shared. This is the Washington Examiner. Peace, and signing out.